Good evening. Happy Christmas Eve for those of you who are listening now. I've been taking some time off, running around like most of y'all have. Um, I haven't seen a lot of people making content though. I mean, of the people that I like, um, because usually on my day to day, I listen to YouTube constantly. I don't partake in chats and whatnot, but I rather listen to regular people's opinions, much more than like popular news or listening to the radio in the car. I never do that stuff. So I'm always a YouTube person first and foremost because I like to see the perspective of the common man. However, like I guess in these past couple weeks, myself and other people I like haven't been really making that much content. There's not much going on besides a potential drone invasion and women getting lit up on subway cars. But with the hustle and bustle of Christmas, people don't make content as freely, I guess. And I'm saying that for myself. I do want to make content more often. Um, I am going to talk about a slew of subjects. I'm in the heart of this drone invasion that's happened many times. When you see news clips, it's actually in my neighborhood and the neighborhood next to mine here in North Jersey. And we still have a large presence of these unidentified drones or whatever they are. They don't really seem like drones. That's one thing. And it's very frustrating. I've tried to explain to people, and then they'll start explaining like drone stuff, and that's I guess like it's just people today are very stupid. Everyone's an expert. Everybody's opinion is way more. Like I tell people like on a day to day, like, oh well, there's a difference in like how these look in comparisons to like drones I've seen in the regular world or on TV, and you get it's acceptable now for people like to drop their opinion as if they're experts, which overshadows what you're seeing like on in a real world. And I'm somebody who has a little bit of knowledge of what plane is what because I had to study it in my professional life. But somebody's random opinion or feeling, yo PLA shout out, please. I don't know who that is. Um, but people's random opinion. I'm the first person, please. Thank you for coming through, but I don't know what that is. And I try to explain on a day to day like what the drone like that I'm seeing like in my neighborhood and whatnot, like what they are, and then like I have like a random person like telling me like oh well it could be it's this or that, like oh it's just some asshole with a drone. I'm like, all right, if it was some asshole with a drone, I wouldn't be making this video and it wouldn't be making the regular news. But people are so stuck on stupid. And I think I get that too on a personal level because I think people just like to contend with me personally. I don't take it personal, but I've been, I'm very upfront with my conservatism, at least in the last 10 years, if you will. Um, and I think sometimes people just take a an issue with that. Like maybe they think that, all right, like you're this way because you feel like, a certain way about whatever. And it's easy for people to check in the boxes like when you try to like pump out conservative stuff, I guess, like for somebody to just automatically want to contend against whatever you're saying, like the drone instance. I've on a personal level have taken to like talking less and less to talking to a very very small circle of people that don't want to like contend at every notion, or don't want to debate to break out, or at every turn, or so you rather just talk to people like that you could just talk to rather than like somebody who's gonna play the devil's advocate at every turn and oh well what about this, like nobody got time for that shit. And I'm an older man like now myself too, so in a sense like by conversating in that fashion, it's just like degrading myself in a sense. But and it's in terms of the drone thing, like yeah, I don't really like try to get into conversations of it with other people, in spite of the fact that this is a humongous story around the country and it's happening in my neighborhood. I mean, when, like I said, like when they show that goofball mayor on TV, that's my mayor, like giving speeches. I don't want to say what town and whatnot because I don't want some fucking weirdo running into me in my day to day, or me have to crack somebody. But you know, and I see these things like in fact, if we were to walk, if I were to go out right now, it's kind of cloudy up here today in Jersey, but we could probably spot one live. But it's very frustrating how a lot of dumb people are like the experts or the authorities in a sense. Lord Jamar is going to be one of these people. Like as far as my Fat Joe topic that I'll get into in a minute too. And I also am going to talk about the woman being burnt on that subway station. I may not believe that story in its entirety. Like, I mean, I found it very strange how everybody was behaving in that incident. There was a shooting a couple years ago in my neighborhood on a train station. If you guys look up 36th Street train station shooting, that was actually in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. I've been very vocal about my lineage to my old neighborhood, Sunset Park. But I was pointing out how a lot of that stuff sounded unplausible, and the videos that came after it, if you guys look at this, the subway shooting that happened in 36th Street, Brooklyn, how a lot of that video looked shaky, like fake. Um, and my younger brother, who I just got off the phone with, he's actually in prison as we speak. He was actually on the train where that went down, and so I already have a little bit of expertise, I guess, in the fact that I'm from that neighborhood, and I actually knew somebody who, according to him, was on the train as it happened, not on the same cart though. But people drop their expert opinions um, on me in describing that stuff too, if I remember correctly. So from here on out, I mean, I think it's new rules. Like as I don't like to take the democratic approach. Everybody has a voice. Like no, like there's a lot of stupid people and they should not be heard. And people with strength and wits and smarts should be heard. Period. Like the whole everybody got to speak notion was stupid. I mean, the worst of us are speaking louder than like people who actually have a few brain cells operating. You know what I'm saying? But so new rules for 2025. I rather say what I gotta say rather than like trying to get anybody's opinion on what what you know they think of things. Um, and honestly, I've taken like the democratic approach more because of past guilt. Like a lot, like in my regular life, I was a jerk off. Like not a jerk, like I was a mean person. I'll put it like that. When I was a younger person, and as you get older, you kind of like think, man, like I wish I would have not done that mean thing or said that mean thing to this person. And people still tell me on a day to day, like not day to day, but people that don't talk to me often, like will mention me making fun of them or me making them the butt of their joke, the butt of my joke, or shit like that, and you start to like remix, like all right, like maybe I should do things myself differently. Maybe I shouldn't be mean. Maybe I should listen to and not be a tyrant. But if these past 4 years weren't an exercise in people's stupidity, like as far as people being up in arms about the Tuskegee experiment, yet rushing into taking the jab, if you will, for like to try to get a dunk on conservatives or to try to prove Trump wrong or some shit. A lot of people rationalized it in that fashion. Not everybody needed to take it by way of mandate or because their job forced them to. A lot of people were very stupid. I know some personally. I mean, like family of mine that were anti-Trump And around that time, I guess getting the jab was like a screw you to Trump for in some people's minds. And that's because, and the point I'm trying to make is that people inherently, especially people like in like that operate in the mob mentality, or that don't get riled up about something unless somebody else is pointing it out. Like you can't really, at times, if you're conscious of what's going on and you're trying to be vigilant with the world and whatnot, you can't really be listening to or getting the opinion of the people that are stuck in their phone like half the time, or are really cowardly by nature, like don't really want to try nothing, black pill, you know, immediately give up in defeat, oh that's impossible, we can't do it. Like, nah, I don't want to listen to sometimes, when you try to be listen to everybody, I'm also getting the opinions of people like that. And I wouldn't listen to people like that in my regular life, like, if I were interacting with them in person. In fact, like, I'd probably be in people's like that faces if they said they disagreed with me with any sort of vigor in a regular on a day to day, in person. But unfortunately, the internet and it's more of a democratic or a democracy, if you will, like where everybody gets a voice, and everybody on the internet is on, like, everybody on the internet is a victim of racism. Everybody in the internet had like their grandmothers like were slaves in the past life. Like, I mean, like, so they have the authority to speak on things more than you do. Um, Mind you, I mean, like, it's almost impossible like for your grandparents like to be of that age, but we'll get past that. um and a lot of people on the internet frame things, especially me, and I'm coming from the conservative perspective, so that's already looked at in a sense as if it's like closeted racism or some shit, or closeted self-hate. That's what it's become. It's the lazy way of thinking of things. So I already, just because of my stances as far as life goes, have to contend with some of that stuff, especially in the woke age that we live in now, in which everything is judged on like the barometer of, are you like racist or not, or everybody is like extremely cognizant of not being labeled as racist, because all you need to do is like screw up one time and, like, that's it. Like, you that shit that's sticks with you, especially if the media is the one covering it. I mean, because I remember Eminem said some racist shit like that was uncovered by Benzino and Mr. May of the Source magazine, and that being sort of a thing like in the early 2000s, and then that story resurfaced maybe like 5 years ago, if that. But he wasn't stuck with that label in perpetuity. Although he's eating off the rap game, some people consider him the best rapper of all time. I don't. But he has that racist accusation that was against him, which is actually a fact. I mean, he was on a mixtape um, saying all kinds of racist shit, supposedly because some girl had broken up with him. Um, and the media, like, I mean, made a thing of it for like a day or two, but it came and went. And I guess thankfully, YouTube is a new form of media, and, like, not every story is inorganic, if you will. But one story that is making the rounds, which I could speak on because I am a Puerto Rican of New York, like Fat Joe is this whole Fat Joe versus the FBA, if you will, or Fat Joe versus Lord Jamar. Now, as far as rap goes, I was one of the biggest rap fans you could think of. I hate rap music now. I can't stand it. Probably since 2008. Once the South got really entrenched in there, like, rap just became stupid. And I mean, like, and it's slowly devolved from there. Like, I mean, like, to where now you have drill rap. We have dudes dancing with dudes or next to dudes, no women dancing with them. Like, it's like a caricature of like how they want minorities to behave, as who knows. But I just can't fuck with rap music nowadays. Like hip hop culture, like I hate when people refer to it like that, like as if like rap is like some holy shit, like something that can't be infringed on. Like it's this, pure like it. I mean, it is one of the pure, like illest forms of music. I mean, it is the illest form of music ever created, honestly, because rap has been number one since at least the 90s. It's had the most run at number one than any other music in history. Um, but I just giving that as a background. I loved the art form, rap music. I've actually met Lord Jamar in passing, and I've met Fat Joe more than once in real life. Um, I actually met homie from Grand Puba too, if I remember correctly. Damn, the main guy from Grand Nubia, not Sadat X. Grand Poo. Um, so, and this is not like in a concert and nothing like that too. This is like, and just from my life, like living in New York and running around and whatnot. You run into people if you're not like a homebody, and I've met many people in that fashion. So rap was my top dog music. I mean, I could like get into debates regarding production back in the day, regarding who was the best rapper from Brooklyn. Who's the best rapper from here, what borough got the best rappers. That this was like all I would talk at times. I love the art form in the past. Now, I mean, it's gone to other shit. Like I haven't like my son was never allowed to listen to it up until recently, and it was the music that he listens to now. I mean, if it's hip hop, it's old hip hop. Um, so I'm just giving that as a background as far as my affinity for the art form. For the five branches of what's considered hip hop: graffiti, DJing, MCing, b-boying. I forgot the other one, but and I could get and not many people's favorite rappers are my favorite rappers. I mean, like to be clear, like I mean, like my top five would be way different than most people's top five. Like that. Well, whatever. Who cares about that stuff? Um, but I'm gonna go and talk about Fat Joe. In spite of the fact that I've met him, and in theory, Fat Joe is part of a crew that I'm also a part of back in the day. Um, I never liked Fat Joe as a rapper. Point blank, like never thought he was a great artist. At best, Fat Joe was an alright rapper. A barely improving rapper. And I'll say this straight up, like as far as Fat Joe's albums, none of which were any good ever. His best album was probably Jose. And from the time when he started rapping till when he first put out Flojo, up until he put out Jose, Jealous One Still Envy, he was getting better as a rapper, yes, but he was never good as a rapper. Never. Fat Joe would be like a Ti, and Ti's ass, bro. That's how like Southern rappers. Most of them are terrible, and Andre 3000 is probably one of my top two rappers. But Southern rap, for the most part, a lot of it is ass, bro. And I love Pastor Troy back in the day. I mean, like, but when the rap went to the South, the rap started going downhill from there. That can't be debated, especially nowadays. In hindsight, I mean, like, the retardation of rap started like had to have been during the Snap Your Fingers 2008 bubblegum era, Young Dro. That was the beginning of the end. Trinidad James, and like I mean, these people that I'm mentioning now, they're nowhere to be found because rap has become a disposable art form. It's basically like this one's played out and pop in the next one. This bitch is hot. Like now we have a new bitch that's hot, so you got to replace the old one with the new one, and like the old one, gets thrown to the trash. Unless they're white rappers or white artists. White artists, they seem to rehash and seem to be able to recreate their careers as country music artists or some bullshit. Meanwhile, they make country music to sound a lot like rap, like that stupid ass tipsy song or everybody at the bar getting tipsy, so that these white artists probably have a venue for them to pop off after they're done rapping. Like that fucking Little Dicky, I think his name is. Now he does like rock country, and like you have morons, even black people that be like, oh yeah, but he's alright. But like you never heard one thing he sings, like Jelly Roll. Like what the hell does Jelly Roll sing? Like could anybody tell me? Like the and that dude, I actually know people that know him too, and he was like a country, like a rapper, and now he's delving in right into that country lane. Mind you, I don't listen to none of this shit he says, but I know like when they show country music award shows, they always throw this fool's name out there as one of the grand attractions. Like I don't know anybody who listens to any of that dude's music, but white people are allowed to come into the rap game. And from my experience, everybody gets happy when they get into the rap game, or like looks at it like it's some sort of victory. Um, they could auto tune sing, nobody cares, nobody's dissing them. They could bite other people, nobody cares. But then they could delve into country music, and country music is now getting hip hopped out with no black artists, mind you. Like no black artist is going into country like that to where they're gonna take it over. And country music is a really shitty ass form of music too, especially nowadays. But hip hop is basically, in my, like, now that I'm older, is basically just a form of people to act their worst and have no control of you talking about Jelly Roll or Post Malone? Oh no, Post Malone, that was the other dude. That he came out as a rapper. Mind you, he had some racist shit attributed to him too. But now I don't, and I don't like I and to my mom, yo, good dudes times, happy Christmas Eve to a Merry Christmas Eve. If you celebrate it. But like Post Malone, that's his name. I confused him with Little Dicky. But Post Malone, started off as a rapper. If I remember correctly, like Eminem, he also had like some racist shit on wax, like from his career in the past. That shit, like nobody cares about it anymore, I guess, like because the media doesn't tell us to care. And then he's now a quasi country like style like rapper, like singer. I don't know what the fuck he does. Or Jelly Roll too. Like I don't know what Jelly Roll does. Jelly Roll sing or rap? I've seen him on stage like singing, like in passing. But they're both terrible. Like I mean, like as artists, I've heard Jelly Roll rapping. I mean, he's not all that. Like the dude's like plain. He's like a Fat Joe in skill. But I agree with you. The country rap is garbage also. Thank you for coming through, War Chief. I haven't listened to a lot of it, but country music as a whole is just basically describing shit in the country. Fucking pickup trucks and parties and all this shit and beer. And the rap a lot of times sounds just like that, like where they're just describing a bunch of shit. The thing about Post Malone is they kind of always did the same thing. His country sounds like his hip hop, if you ask me. It could be, could be. I'm just not like tuned into these people like that. Like again, I've tuned out of rap since like 2008 when rap went to the South and got Young Dro and Trinidad James out, and they were snapping their fingers. Foul Play was out of rap entirely. Mind you, I was listening to rap when rap first got on the radio. I was already thoroughly into rap before I really listened to it on regular radio, if you will. 87, I was already like, I thought rap was amazing, like, as a fucking youngster. And my brothers, I remember my brothers before going to parties, practicing dance steps and all this shit, like fighting with their friends, like, yo, you better get the steps right. Like my first favorite song being Big Mouth by Run DMC and You Talk Too Much by Run DMC, and Big Mouth was by Fat Boys. But I was a hip hop fiend, but it's just not the case no more. Like Interscope wouldn't be able to squat. Or if that Eminem shit came out now, he'll be through. Interscope wouldn't be able to squash it. That depends though, man. Cause people like that, like the Eminem shit, like it resurfaced about 4 years ago, and I actually remember a boxing content creator making a video about it. From the Bay Area. What's his face? There's a cat that's Town Business. I remember him making a video and Goodfella TV, like where that story resurfaced about Eminem being racist and all that shit. But like to me, like if the media doesn't really mention it or the internet doesn't remind people, like people could give two shits. Like I mean, like a lot of people are sheep. But which brings me to my Fat Joe situation. Again, I think Fat Joe is the Ti of rap, except he's Puerto Rican. Ti got no skills. Fat Joe never has skills. I've never heard somebody in a real life situation, mind you. And I grew up around Puerto Ricans, black dudes, but I've never seen many people like, yo, put that Fat Joe on. Like it's just never seen it pop off like in my regular life. I always took offense to the fact that the one Puerto Rican rapper that they allowed us was Fat Joe, like because I mean I'm Puerto Rican, I love rap. Everybody who was around me that was Puerto Rican, I mean they didn't listen to Spanish music, they only listen to rap. Like we got our flow basically, or like how to be like from rap music, like New York Puerto Rican dudes, New York Latin dudes, um, and so like as far as me and Fat Joe, I don't rock with Fat Joe. In spite of the fact that I met him, in spite of the fact that Fat Joe is part of one of the crews that I'm part of, like I was never a fan of Fat Joe. I mean, and the couple times that I met him, he's been a nice person to me. One thing I do know, as far as in the streets, Fat Joe is a real ass dude. Like as far as his reputation goes, or not. I'll put it like Fat Joe is somebody who you wouldn't like mess with on a day to day level, or like Fat Joe's peoples, like the KAR cats, the Kilo Rats dudes, people that I knew that he knows from my neighborhood. I mean, like Charlie Hustle from these aren't no like clowns, if you will. But I've never like I don't rock with Fat Joe's music. Never liked it. Again, like I always felt offended that he was the one Puerto Rican rapper that they let like through. Um, and I'll get into a theory about that in another time too. Like why they never really let Bronx rappers pop off either. Bronx is like one of the illest boroughs in New York. Probably the illest as far as like tied up with Brooklyn as far as ill neighborhood. I mean ill boroughs go in New York. It's got to be either Brooklyn or Bronx. And I'm sorry, Queens. Like I mean, y'all ain't making the cut. But how is it that there's so many rappers from Brooklyn, so many rappers from Queens, and there's been zero rappers from the Bronx? All this anti-FBA hate comes from Trump being elected. Yeah, I think a lot of it is tied up with that. Like it's frustration. But Fat Joe was I know he got paid for that Kamala endorsement that he did, looking like a damn fool, a couple months ago, and I actually made a video about that as well, how like that shit don't rock. But I'll get into and like Fat Joe's dropping of the M bombs. I'll go back to that. Personally, I'm from New York, and I'm not gonna say I'm like the hoodest dude in the world, but I ain't no fucking chump. Like I mean, like I've lived my life not from my fucking house windows. I've been out of the house since I was 11, 12 years old, running around New York. Um, as far as the N word goes, on a personal level, I've probably said the N word 2, 3 million times, easy. My dad coming up, barely like I mean he spoke English like chopped up, but I've seen women fucking saying the N word my whole life. Like you know, anybody from New York, people are flabbergasted that Black Americans aren't blindly following Democrats anymore. Yeah, partially, in part. But Fat Joe also in his raps has said the N word a ton of times. Um, a lot of like, and this is not the reason that people are pissed off at Fat Joe. I mean, Fat Joe did like kind of like went at a whole like group in a sense, um, or newly made like terminology, if you will, and it could have been out of frustration. Who the hell knows? I'm not here like defending Fat Joe. I'm defending more of, or I'm against, if you will, the fact that people are selective in their rage, like, or like they make a big make it a big deal. A lot of like what Fat Joe said regarding like on Son's podcast. I don't listen to any of this shit either, honestly. I barely listen to. I only listen to the rough parts of like what Fat Joe and Lord Jamar say to each other. I don't, you know, I'm not really in tune with them like that. Neither one. And Lord Jamar actually has a pretty decent podcast. He speaks out his ass sometimes. I mean, but he's well intentioned. You know, I don't think he's a bad person or anything like that. I just get, well, I honestly, I do have an issue with one thing in that, no, actually, no, because he wasn't making it a big deal like in Fat Joe dropping the N bombs. I think other people were making it a big deal when Fat Joe started describing the FBA, Tariq Nasheed, Lord Jamar, and using the N word in this referring to those people, and rather than saying like these dudes, like he basically said like these N bombs, which in regular New York vernacular, I mean like my like whole life, like the N word was a placeholder for many words. I mean like it was a descriptor. And that's not the same for everywhere. I mean like, you know, there's not like, I don't know if Chicago like Puerto Ricans like say the N bomb, or Chicago Hispanic people say the N bomb, or I don't know. And I don't know if, and I may not be recalling things exactly how it played out in Lord Jamal's part, because I'm not exactly sure if he took issue with Fat Joe saying the N bomb. Oh no, in fact, I think he did when he made his second video and he said Fat Joe should apologize. But here's my stance: Fat Joe. I'm not saying whether he should apologize or not. I'm more along the lines that people shouldn't apologize for anything that I said. I'm a free speech person through and through. Even what's considered quasi racist speech, for what everything now is considered like quasi racist, calling shit out. So I mean, like, you know, I rather go back into a time like where, you know, you could describe things by like their nationality and people don't take offense to it, or but and that's not what happened with Fat Joe. I'm saying it and more as a free speech stance in which anybody should be able to say anything they want. Like if you got an issue with it, break his fucking teeth or knock him out. Oh, Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Bruce Cass, as well. Rather than like have internet dorks, and that's that like, well, that's the main core that I'm gonna get to, is that now on the internet, and being that nobody leaves the house as often, everybody's like stuck in the house. So everybody becomes a revolutionary online. Everybody becomes a big ass hustler, or I did this and that. I'm this gangsta ass dude online. You know, like and you know, or everybody is related to somebody who fucking got tortured by cops online. Everybody is related to some dude that some racist shit happened to online. You know, so I can't believe none of these dudes. And the thing is too that a lot of times, it's not that I can't believe none of these dudes. It's that a lot of times they take over like what you can and can't say by reeling you in and saying, oh, well, that might be, you know, well, what about like, you know, all these like this bad stuff that's happened like, you know, to us back in the day. I mean, oh, it's always brought in like, or like where some like not always, but recently in my personal experience too. And I'm telling you, like, I mean, like I'm a Puerto Rican dude from New York. My grandfather's fucking black, blacker than shit. My brother's blacker than shit. My grandkids, black. Oh, they're my brother's grandkids, but I call them my grandkids. But you talk to people online, and people online who've never met a Puerto Rican in their life automatically all like like all Puerto Ricans are this way, or like I don't know. They just try to obfuscate the conversation where I don't want to obfuscate anybody's conversations. I don't want to reel in anybody's conversation, in spite of the fact that you may feel like it's racist or whatever. Like I don't want people to be reeled in. I rather racists be in my face rather than behind closed doors. Like I rather like fuck online. Like there could be dudes that are fucking trolls that are like of all kind of colors that stir up racist shit. And at the end of the day, I mean, on a personal level, have I been has somebody in my regular life tried to check me for saying the N word? Absolutely. Not in New York, but it's happened. Like I mean, on a in a professional setting, let's say, and it was out of New York. And in that case, what am I gonna say? Like, I would try to say, like, well, in those instances, in a polite fashion, that in New York, like, I mean, everybody says it, whatever. And if somebody, explain, like, well, like, it's not New York, or like, I take offense to that word, I'm not gonna keep saying it in their presence. Has it slipped out in 2024? Many times, of course, on a regular like conversation. I've said it, and I'm trying not to say it. But I just find it like corny that people like in Fat Joe saying the N word, whether that be in that interview or going back to his past work. I mean, it was acceptable when he said it in the past, like and I don't see many people like, and it's more something that's riveted up online. Like I mean, like if somebody goes presses them, like and then like, or like that's not gonna happen. Honestly, I don't see nobody like on a regular like day to day like going up and like trying to hold Fat Joe accountable for dropping the N bombs, like in whether like in that interview or in the past. But to me, I mean, like again, Fat Joe's a corny ass artist. I mean, like as far as politically, I mean, we're not on the same standing. He wanted to vote for Kamala. I was anything but Kamala and Biden. So I'm not advocating for this dude one iota. If Fat Joe loses his career behind this, I could give two shits. I'd rather some other Puerto Rican like or some other Puerto Ricans replace him. There might be a reason as to why other Puerto Ricans haven't got on. That might be directly related to Fat Joe being on. I mean, like, oh, this fucking bitch. Get the fuck out of here. Look! This bitch took a leak out here. Who do you think? Damn, these fucking cats. One of my cats is driving me nuts. In the doorway. Throw out that little rug. That's just done. Could you wipe it up now? Like, I'm sorry. So, as far as, let me move on. Yeah, like, I have, sorry about that, guys. One of my, cats fucking, is, pissed off that we adopted, two kittens temporarily, and she's been pissing on a bunch of shit, and I keep catching her. This fucking bitch. I can't stand the smell of cat piss, my peoples. But, that's the life of fostering cats. I would show you guys the remnants, but actually I'm gonna show where the fuck she going. Look at it. I'm gonna fuck you up. Look at it. Fucking up my live stream. Yeah, anyway, so I don't damn, what the hell is that? So like I'm telling you on a personal level, like as far as like people trying to reel me in like on the internet, on YouTube and whatnot, like when I like you kind of like gotta explain things backwards in a sense, because people try to lump you in um with their limited foreknowledge of most situations. I mean, most people online are just fucking retarded, honestly. Like, or like, are just reactionary, are looking for something to get offended by. I'm gonna come to the back room while my wife. My bad, my people. Yo, I like dead ass. I don't know if you guys caught that, but as soon as I like, and I've been having issues. Like, I said, let me see if we these drones now like live, and I pointed my camera up this way, and then it had trouble connecting to the screen. But going back to what I was saying, um, nobody should be reeled in like from speaking any sort of way. And the fact that some internet like Herb or some internet dork who just became a revolutionary during fucking COVID or some shit, you know, wants to cock block any kind of conversation towards anything and wants to get your barometer on where you stand with debates on like race. Like, listen, like that shit is like I'm gonna start hard checking people like when they do it to me, like because it's happened to me, and it's only happened to me recently. I mean, like the last couple years, I can't be conversing with people online as well because online is not reality. Online, everybody is a thug, everybody's a fucking revolutionary, but most people that you're having conversations with are fucking dudes in boxes, sleeping on a fucking bunk bed, and sitting around in pajamas, you know. And but you know, you let them describe it, and they're fucking, you know, these goons, or they're fuck somebody they just knew got pulled, like beat up and fucking by cops and a bunch of bullshit. But you know, I'm not for. And you know, and Lord Jamal is doing something hoey too, in that he's calling for Fat Joe to be canceled. Um, or should he be canceled in a sense? Like, if they like, if again, if Fat Joe's career goes away tomorrow, I would probably celebrate. The dude's not a corny ass. Like, the dude's not skilled like that in my eyes. Are you done in there, love? Are you done? Yeah, my bad, my peoples. Fucking cats, bro. But if Fat Joe's career goes away tomorrow, I mean, I could give two shits. Get out of here right now. This is the one that fucking just pissed. What's your problem, cuz? Prince. Baby Prince. But yeah, sorry about that, guys. I just don't want anybody to refrain from saying anything. Point blank, you know, I think like the fact that people interrupt me on a personal level to try to get my temperature on like fucking some race shit that they just found online, like, you know, or some new theory that, like, you know, they want to run with, is just cornball to me. And plus, as far as consciousness goes, like, you know, I've been conscious personally, as in black consciousness. Like, I've learned like to be conscious from black, like listening to black people, Coakley, fucking Maddox, um, too many to name, if you will. Um, as in Albee Square Mall area, fucking downtown Brooklyn conscious community, not no fucking Harlem or online conscious community. Fucking what's that clown from Harlem name? I forget. Sonetta. You know, nah, not like official, like out in the streets, like, you know, dudes selling books, um, or like listening, like 5%ers, like everybody when they go to jail becomes a 5%er, Latin, Black, and I believe Lord Jamal is 5%er, if memory serves me right. But a lot of those conversations, like, I mean, like, I'll put it like this, like, I'm coming from historically, like, I've subscribed to the notion. I don't say this online many times, but on my personal life, I've talked to people in like the American black man and woman, like where they come from and whatnot. I personally, this is not a notion that I have this past year. I've had this notion for about 10 years. And honestly, like the fact that I'm a fiend for history and the fact that I travel the country um, and get to see things in person, things that are etched in stone, old paintings, um, and you look at how these things were back in the day. I subscribe to the notion that America, not saying anywhere else in the world, I'm talking about America. I live in America, and I represent my family is consistent of so-called minorities of America. I subscribe to the notion that America is far older than what people say, as in thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years older, as far as civilizations go. Um, if those civilizations, which some people refer to as Tartarian now, which I don't like, I mean, could they have been Tartarian? Sure, but I think they're using Tartarian as a placeholder word because they don't want to say black people. But if America is ancient, like I believe it to be, um, the people that ran America are the people that get hassled the most in America, or the people that built America, not like as far as building farms and all that shit. Talking about building structures, mounds, um, weren't Native American Indians, in my mind. I mean, because where the Native American Indians now? I mean, they weren't wiped out. Like you can't wipe out races like in that capacity. If in my theory, this country and this world is far more ancient, but more so this country is far more ancient than people tell us, and that if this country is ancient, like I believe it to be, that the people who are running this country or running around in this country were American black people. I don't think that every American black person is a descendant of African slaves. I mean, like I've grown up near African dudes in Flatbush, or like I mean, oh, I'll get into that too. And West Indians, and every one of these groups is way different than the other. I mean, like I'll put it like this: I've never seen anywhere in this country where like an African cat will come from Africa and he just gets all this brotherly love by American black people. Like there's is, and it's not like that. It's a drawback against American black people. It's just that they're not the same. Like they don't look the same. Like they don't flow the same way. And you could see that evidence in the Caribbean. Like I mean, every Caribbean country is way different than each other. In addition to, you could see it in Southern black dudes. To me, like I mean, don't act nothing like the dudes from the West Coast or the dudes from the East Coast. And at times, I mean, like from my travels, I mean, I've been to California several times. I've been to the South many times. I haven't been to Texas. But to me, I mean, from my observations, and again, these are my uneducated observations, but when I see brothers up here, like in Boston, they look far different than the brothers in California. Like they flow different too, but they actually, like, to me, there's a discernible difference at times in how they look. Not everybody, but like there's just a lot of dudes like a phenotypical type look for brothers in New York at times, not the way they dress. That's different than the ones I've seen in California or in the South. That's just an observation I've made. What I'm trying to say is that no little group of white conquering people took down the whole Africa, the whole Caribbean, the whole in the same year, 1492. Like these dudes found America with a couple of ships, took over the whole Caribbean. Like they weren't like dudes there, like fucking like they took over. And mind you, they beat the Moors in 1492 supposedly in Spain. And the Moors already held down Spain for over 1,000 years at that point. So this white population is gonna beat that Moorish population that was in Spain. and then not think like, listen, what if these people come back and try to take us over, like these Moors that we just beat? You know, there's other Arabic dudes, like supposedly, because all Moors are Arabs, like according to morons. And what if like these dudes come back because they've been here for 1,000 years, more than 1,000 years, according to history. We just beat them, like the white Spanish people supposedly beat these Moors and drove them out of Spain. I don't think that any group that would overtake a country like that would then say, all right, let's go finance a trip to the Caribbean or to India, and then we'll go take that shit over too. Even if they found America by accident, you wouldn't fight a battle on two fronts and basically drive out the Moors in 1492, in addition to then venturing out into America and taking that over in the same year. To me, that's history is fake. Anything should be debated at this point, and if anything should be debated more than anything, it's basically history. History enslaves us, especially bad history. Because I've never met like I should not even gone into this tangent, but it's something I'll explain in this channel like in the future too. But also, I don't know. I believe Lord Jamar made a point of mentioning like Caribbeans and whatnot, like which is basically Caribbeans are Trinidadians, Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Guyanese, fucking who else is Caribbean? Uh, Belize, Barbados, you know, and these are all like dudes that I mean, like they have communities in New York. There's a lot of cats from Belize in New York, a lot of Trinidadian dudes in New York, and these dudes, I mean, like they're pretty much accepted as just black people. Not to say that they've ever like that all Puerto Ricans are like loosely called all like you know all like those are black dudes over there, or that's a black over a black over there. If they saw a bunch of Puerto Rican dudes, nah, they wouldn't say that. I'm not gonna front on you guys. But out of all the Caribbean nations, I mean, like it seems as if Puerto Ricans are like kind of like an exception. I mean, like a lot of like where we get like our own lane in a sense. I mean, we're fly ass dudes too, though. Like you know, like Puerto Ricans got that flow. Fucking I'm being facetious, but um, many times, I mean, like a lot of my peoples that I consider black are West Indian. They wouldn't separate themselves from American dudes. Like, I mean, maybe Jamaican cats, like back in the day, but even they're not on that type of time. Like, I mean, like, and a lot of West Indian cats were fucking I mean, they're pretty much like what I would consider or what people would loosely consider as the black culture in New York. Not saying solely like they're the only arbiters or like, but they're part of like the black culture in New York. I mean, but there's like a little bit of a set tripping happening in the course of these discussions as to like you know who's affiliated with the FBA, which I mean it's a new terminology or new faction that has been carved in, and who's not affiliated with the FBA or who supportive. But again, that goes into these corny conversations as to what's racist or is this important to you. What is the fact that like you know racism happens like the most important thing like in this conversation, like you know I just don't like if that's a something that's pushed hard body or like a purity test at every turn with every conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like where do you stand on like you know it's like to me like and should Puerto Ricans be saying the N bomb? I mean like it's a great debate. I mean like you know am I gonna stop saying it? I'm trying. Uh, I'll be 100% frank. I mean like you know it doesn't work in a business setting, and I've dropped it in a business setting or I've dropped it in unopportune times like and it's not because like people look at me like oh shit this guy's racist like no like I live in fucking 10 miles from New York City, and I grew up in New York City my whole life. If you were to, like, in any conversation, and some Latin dude were to say, like, listen, like, I know you run with a bunch of herbs, but me personally, I'm a A1 N bomb. Nobody in New York is gonna say, "Oh God, I don't appreciate that conversation. That's racist." Like, I've never seen that shit happen in New York. I just don't like the fact that people act brand new and like, oh well, like fucking, he's been doing this his whole career. Like, all right, like then, like fucking, if that's the standard, I mean, like fucking, you at least recognize that that's some shit that you're trying to switch up in 2024. But I mean, like, you're pretty much also trying to act like it's the first time you heard him drop the N bomb, in a sense. Like all these people that are up in arms. Um, as far as like Tariq Nasheed, like yes, I am a conscious person. I've After Hidden Colors 1, I think Tariq Nasheed became a goofy internet personality. Personally, does Tariq Nasheed represent all FBA? I don't even know what the fucking FBA, like, or who, like how to, like, who's in, like, the FBA to me, like, is just a new terminology they're trying to pump American brothers into, honestly. And the more that American brothers start terming themselves just based on a color and like really not taking ownership of this land, I mean, like, if you go by the slave story, which I don't 100% subscribe to that theory. Like, again, I don't think that all the black people that are in America came by way of their ancestors being enslaved from Africa. I think that black people were the biggest population in America. I mean, I don't think that there's 13% black population in America, neither. That's a number that they keep running with. I mean, and if you listen to Margaret Sanger, her mission, or like, I think supposedly was to keep the black population at 13 or less, 13% or less. I think that's just a number that they just lace on us, because I see my brothers everywhere, like all over this country. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I always say, like, I mean, and I always say too, like, every time like that there's a mass change in this country, I mean, like, um it's always, and I think, and I say this more in the sense that I do see great things coming from America, and honestly from the minority community in America, which I don't consider um a part of that, like like, let me go back, like rewind a little bit. Well, let me finish that point. Is that this country is headed for really great things by, and because I feel that there's a mass wave of brothers doing right. I mean, like, and I'm not saying this because of just the election, because I mean, like, a large percentage of brothers voted against Kamala Harris this last election, and that's going to cause a sea change, not because they elected in that sense, because they're starting to have conversations of, like, well, I do want to start a family, rather than I want to be destructive to my women or calling women hoes and all this shit. Like, people are, you know, um, switching it up, and it's causing a mass change in this country, whether we like it or not. I just don't, but for a good sense, in a good sense, I'll put it like that. Going back to a point I did want to make though, um, in terms of like, I'm not gonna say Caribbeans, like, but I will for the sake of this argument, like Caribbeans in New York. Like, in New York, I'm gonna break down like the Latin people that are in New York. Number one population, or one of the highest. We're moving out though. A lot of us Puerto Ricans, like, are always considered to be part of the fabric of New York. A lot of us are leaving New York, but I'll put them as like number one. Mexicans are probably number two, and that just started happening, followed by Dominicans. But some people will tell you that Dominicans are number two, but Mexicans are on some takeover shit with New York. Then you got everybody else, Panamanians, fucking who else? As far as Latin cats that have a real presence in New York, um, that's it. Like as far as New York goes, those are like the real like big groups. And then so in terms of Mexicans just started showing up in the '90s in New York, and my neighborhood, Sunset Park, probably has the most of any neighborhood. But there's always been a sense of like we don't fuck with these dudes like that. Like I'm that's not on some racist shit. It's just that they don't flow like how we flow, and it's not like they don't flow how we flow as Caribbean Latin people. No, they don't flow as we flow. From my understanding, because the Caribbeans that I mentioned, Panamanians, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, always operated in my little in my neck of the woods, New York City, just like black people did. Like we liked the same music, we kept the same code as far as the street shit goes. Um, were there like Latin gangs? Yeah, Latin Kings. I didn't to me though. I mean, those are the ops when I was a youngster. But were Latin Kings on some fucking um, fuck black people from my experience? And mind you, I don't like these dudes like that back in the day. Like they were the opposing team. But I've never observed them fucking on some like race shit. Like as far as in the streets go, in jails is different. In jails you gotta rock for your race. Like I mean that's just how things are there. I mean you could fuck with other people in jail certainly, but as far as race goes, like you really can't violate or let your race get violated by another race. That's how it is. Politics are in jail. Period. And that's New York. I mean, like New York is like one of the least racist place as far as so-called minorities. All so-called minorities in New York fuck with each other to some degree. The outsiders and all that, as far as like minorities go, were Mexicans. Black people in New York don't fuck with Mexican cats. Puerto Ricans in New York don't fuck with Mexican cats. Um, Mexican New Yorkers at least. Like the type of like the dude that burned that woman up. That's like what the Mexican cats, by and large, in New York look like. He was Guatemalan, yes, I know this, but they're more like those kind of dudes, like drunk, fucking They stick to themselves too, honestly. Like they don't fuck with us. Like Mexican gangs are heavy in my neighborhood, and they never had a rivalry up until recently with like Latin Kings or like the black gangs. Like they usually just bang on themselves but they've always kind of like been like outsiders. The reason I say that is because a lot of people's experience with Latin dudes, by and large, it's like with Mexican dudes. Like now I'm not saying that Mexicans are some like tripping on race like that, neither. Because I don't really rock with them like that. But Mexicans like their culture, like I mean, like their music sucks. Like their music sounds like clown music. Um, their women, I mean, like in New York, they're nobody will tell you like, oh wow, I'm into these Mexican chicks. In New York City, I mean, the New York, we ended up somehow all the like ugliest Mexican women, probably in the nation, in the world, ended up in New York City. Like it's almost like its own culture that like doesn't fuck with anybody, and we don't fuck with them. Um, However, most people's experience with so-called Latin people, or when a lot of people make a lazy fucking descriptor of some bad experience they had with Latin dudes, it must be with like fucking some Cubans I forgot to mention too. But it must be as far as not outside of New York, it must be some fucking some other type dudes. It's not like I don't know. It's like New York Latin dudes. I mean like not Mexicans. I mean like they don't like speak Spanish. Most of them I speak Spanish, but most of them don't know how to speak Spanish. Most of them are fucking in the same situation, in the same projects, in the same fucking everything as black dudes historically. And that's the same shit with Caribbean dudes. I mean, like fucking Caribbean cats. I mean, like I would never even had a distinguish between like, black Trinidadian dudes and regular black people. I mean, they look the same between Jamaican cats and like what you would consider regular black New York cats. I mean, it's the same shit. If anything, I mean like Puerto Ricans were more on the outside of that, only in the sense that we spoke Spanish and like our parents like Spanish music and whatnot. But outside of that, I mean, like the cops still fuck with us the same way, like aggressively bad. We still lived in the same spots, the fucking same projects, same everything. But when you leave it to internet dorks to give their interpretation of things, I mean, like internet dorks are fucking lazy. And yes, there are internet dorks that are quote unquote minorities. Yes, there are internet dorks that speak on things, um, on hood shit, on like, and my perspective for like 2025, I mean, like, it's real like put up or shut up type of shit, like, or I'm gonna look at things as if, listen, the person that could be speaking to me on the internet could be a fucking cornball or a dork, you know, trying to set like race shit off in a sense. I mean, like, if I remember, if I'm hoping I'm not misquoting, but Lord Jamar like mentioned like the Caribbean cats, like, and not Puerto Rican Caribbean solely, like I don't know. It's just that he's acting like all this stuff is like brand new in a sense, like as if like Puerto Ricans like from New York especially like weren't like fucking up on hip hop. I mean, were they the creators? No. I mean, but have there been Puerto Ricans around since hip hop been around? Like, I mean, it's on fucking video. And Beat Street, Ruby Red is a Puerto Rican cat. Fucking Ram LZ is a Puerto Rican cat. Fucking the graffiti writers, I mean, for the most part, I mean, like, yes, that's not rap, but a lot of those dudes are Puerto Rican cats. So I mean, like, B boys, like, um, should there have been more rappers? I mean, I put that fucking Otis on like why Fat Joe was the only Puerto Rican rapper that was allowed to really exist. I mean, there's not many others. I mean, Picasso from Killer Army, fucking Big Pun. I mean, and these are all like short run. But from what I know and from what I grew up with, or in real life, not on the internet, not with somebody trying to be sensational online and get offended by fucking some news standard that they're trying to pump because they read some shit by that some white liberal typed up. Like, nah, we ain't doing all that stuff. Like, I'm hoping that if Fat Joe loses his career, like, I wouldn't give two shits. I mean, like, again, if he loses his career behind this, I mean, like, to me, I have an issue in the sense that everybody should be allowed to say whatever the fuck they want. I mean, like, I don't agree with any sort of, and Lord Jamal is calling for a boycott in a sense. If people buy Fat Joe's albums less, which I doubt that's even happening in the real world. Like, I don't even think people buy albums or buy streams and none of that shit. I don't know anybody who buys a download music, anything. I've never downloaded any music. Um, and I honestly think that these rappers are being paid by fucking slush funds for them to act like fools, fucking and bring our population down to its worst. Especially in the last 10 years. I mean, like, these rappers are shining just as much as rappers in the 90s. Yet in the 90s, they were actually selling millions of CDs, whereas these rappers supposedly sell streams, but nobody knows. Nobody I know buys a stream. I've seen a ton of people with books of CDs back in the day of every album under the sun. I mean, and I've seen in Tower Records, in the music stores. I mean, like, people fucking flocking and looking through the CDs. And it was way better music too. With that being said, nowadays, I mean, like, I'm not the only person that stopped listening to rap. Um, I stopped listening to rap more because of the South rap, but I know a ton of people that stopped listening to rap because of drill rap. Where you're taking large customer bases away from rap music along the way I don't think these young people are buying shit. Yet these rappers have just as big houses, just as big jewelry, cars, and all this shit as the back in the day dudes. Nah, I don't believe that shit. I believe that the rap industry is financed by non-black people to keep fucking people honestly fucking retarded in a sense, to keep people highly emotional, um and to act the worst honestly. I mean, like, all rap does is degrade all women or fucking you know teach promiscuity, fucking female rappers. I mean, like, holy shit, such fucking terrible music in addition to the messaging that's being put out. Like, I see videos of women in clubs like on Facebook singing to like female, like the lyrics to like female rap shit, and it's just some of the most piggish, fucking disgusting, guttural women or shit that a woman should say. Like, I mean, and it's supposed to be like acceptable or like some boss bitch shit. Nah. Like, I mean, like, I think that rap in general is an art form that's extremely negative. Should be done. Like, I mean, if it went away tomorrow, I wouldn't be tripping. Um, but the fact that it's still kept afloat, the fact that is, I believe, because money's being poured into it. And if money's being poured into it by business people, it's not for them to make a buck. At this stage of the game, not many things flow off money making, if you will. I think a lot of things flow off of keeping the people dumb, keeping the people medicated, overly medicated, unnecessarily medicated, keeping the people enslaved mentally, honestly. And if rap doesn't play a part in that, I mean, or if you don't see rap playing a part of that, I mean, you may not be looking close enough. Um, and as far as the N word goes, I mean, like, if it went away like tomorrow, or if the new standard is for Puerto Rican dudes aren't allowed to say it, I couldn't give two shits. I mean, like, fucking or if the new standard is Caribbean cats are not allowed to say that, good luck. Like, with telling a Jamaican dude not to say the N word, or with telling fucking a Belize cat, Foxy Brown. I mean, no, she's Asian. Good luck telling like one of these dudes, like, like other Caribbeans, non Puerto Ricans. I mean, like, that they now are being refrained as to what to say in that sense. I mean, like, it's a pretty much like a joke argument, honestly. Um, but the more important thing is that censorship by way of pressuring somebody. Um, you go and look. Censoring by trying to reel people in is some of the most cowardly shit that's happening. Um, and if you get reeled in by all that stuff, or like allow people to censor you in a sense, I mean, like, it's a choice you got to make. I mean, like, personally, like, I feel like at times I've had to censor myself because of these sensitive people, or because of people acting like they're sensitive regarding a certain subject. But I really think that in hindsight, some people want aren't sensitive to these subjects. They just want to reel you in and make you talk about what they want you to talk about, or putting rules on you, basically. And as far as speech goes, there are no. I mean, the only rule is, if you try to stop people from free speech, then you should suffer for it. But if somebody speaks out of turn, quote unquote, I mean, like, the only suffering that should come from that is, yes, you could get knocked out for the words that you say. I mean, you want to go knock out Fat Joe or set it on him, by all means, fucking But if it's because of him saying the N word on an interview or going at the FDA, I mean, that's a different issue. Him saying the N word on that interview, I mean, like, should it be acceptable? That's up to you. But if you're saying it based solely off that interview, when he's had a career of dropping the N word repeatedly, Oh, when also I see these little white skinny cats dropping the N word now, like these drill rap fans, like it's acceptable for them to say it, and they're straight up dorks, like they're fucking from fucking Tyson's Corner, Virginia, or some shit. They could drop it like because they have these Edgar haircuts and fucking are into drill, and they're allowed to say it at times. But Fat Joe has been saying it throughout his career. Mind you, I don't fuck with Fat Joe again. And now people want to play act surprised that he said it in the span of this interview. Like it's corny shit. Um, Let me wrap it up here because I'm gonna watch a movie with the fam soon. I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas if you do celebrate it. Hoping to come back before the New Year pops off. Actually, I am gonna come back. New Year's pop off, so I'm not gonna say Happy New Year yet. But should you guys celebrate Christmas? You guys peep the tree this whole fucking time. Guys also peep thumbs. But should you guys celebrate it, I do want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas. Stay safe out there, and I hope everything you wish for came true this year. With that, I'm out. Peace.